All right, so for our first topic, I'm sure plenty of you have heard about it, but there's been a second attempted assassination on the former president Donald Trump, and the crazy thing with this one is that it took place while he was golfing today, and his golfing schedule or what he was doing today was not public information. So there's already a lot of questions about what's going on there, as well as the person that's in custody. And so we'll be going over that a little bit today. MC, any early thoughts on this?
This is what happens when we have a society that's become too emotional. Um, we need to get to a space where we're comfortable with letting people be who the hell they are. And typically, when somebody says something like that, they're talking about the rainbow community. That's not what I'm talking about right now. They have a big enough platform in a lot of space as is. I'm talking about the other side, the social conservatives, they don't really have a place to vent or outlay. So what ends up happening is when you have one side who's over emotional and they're dominating the other side, that's mental oppression, right?
Hmm.
You mentally oppress somebody long enough, you don't give them a safe space to be themselves, that creates frustration. And I think that's why a lot of these so-called progressives, because let's be clear, a lot of them are the first ones that want to resort to violence or doing something extreme.
Right,
And I think
exactly.
that's a perfect reflection of what happened today. Um, Trump is here because there's a large faction of people that like him. Now, whether you do or not is irrelevant. That's not going to change the first part of the statement I just made. He's here. So we need to get to a space where we're not arguing emotional arguments, meet people where they're at. Hey, why do you like this guy? What do you see in him? Maybe I'm missing something. And then those will lead to conversations where people can kind of open up to be themselves. And I think we'll have less situations like this. Because the bottom line is Trump's people are rocking with him way harder than Kamala's people are rocking with her. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, when it comes to these, and I actually looked this up though, when it comes to like multiple assassination attempts, and I want to say there was, I mean, Ronald Reagan, and then Ford, and then I'm forgetting Theodore Roosevelt, which I didn't realize they had multiple assassination attempts on them. Trump is about to join a very elite group of men presidents that have had, threats on their lives, and with the social, not social security, but the Secret Service. There we go. Got my S's wrong. So with the Secret Service, you have people that they're trained to protect the president. They're trained to, get ahead of stuff like this. And this is another lapse in their protection of or detail for Trump. And the people in charge of Trump's Secret Service detail are the people he's running against. So something's weird's going on. Something I can't get too conspiracy on this, but this is the second time this has happened. So, but let's go ahead and see what the news media has to say.
A portrait of him is emerging. It's not conclusive. It doesn't tell us definitively about motive, but we know a few things. We know that he lived for a long time in North Carolina, and there appears to have been a number of criminal convictions there, including one conviction for possession of a weapon of mass destruction back in 2002. Unclear exactly what that was about. Other charges and convictions related to possessing stolen property. Two, we have a LinkedIn account that says that he moved to Hawaii at one point. We have a long history of tweets, X now, with all kinds of things all over the map. Some very strange things, including at one point inviting the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un to go to Hawaii to do work with him. We also know,
real quick, X has already scrubbed this guy's account. So he had like one tweet that was left, and he clearly was radicalized. But X is, and I guess I'm pretty sure all the other social media accounts have already scrubbed his account as well too.
I'm not surprised by any of that, number one. But I'm gonna be proactive here and add this caveat too. I'm a Second Amendment individual. I love the Second Amendment. I do own weapons. I am a defensive shooter, but I believe that the left is going to try to leverage this as gun control. That they're going to start those conversations again about
Mhm.
restricting guns, and they'll use the same terms, assault weapons, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm already just some of these comments I'm hearing about inviting a known dictator of an enemy country to the United States to work with him. That's telling me there's some mental issues here.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
like to dive into that a little bit earlier because I believe the real crisis in this country is mental health, not guns.
yeah. Well, also, with you being a gun owner, you and Kamala have something in common. So there's that.
Yeah, I don't believe her, but that's a different story.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back.
He was passionate about the Ukraine war on the side of the Ukrainians, and he traveled to Ukraine. There's a YouTube video that we've authenticated where he's giving an interview and describing his efforts to go try to fight for the Ukrainian cause. But because he was 56 years old at the time with no military experience, they didn't accept him as a fighter. And then he turned to try to recruit people to that cause. At one point, he had a scheme to try to recruit former Afghan pro-U.S. fighters to go over to Ukraine and fight for Ukraine. So those are the kinds of things we're learning about him. Again, it doesn't tell us why he might have done this and what his motive may have been. And Tom is absolutely right. With these convictions, it raises a question about how he possessed an assault rifle. But clearly, as you said at the beginning, there were a lot of lucky things here. The first thing was that the Secret Service saw that rifle poking out of the brush on the outskirts of this golf course as they were going to clear the next hole for Donald Trump to play. That was a lucky thing, but it still raises questions as to how, yet again, someone got within rifle range of the former president, Chris.
Yeah, I know he says lucky, like, oh yeah, a lot of things just went Trump's way. Like, again, I'm still going back to the Secret Service because growing up, from what I've seen on TV and what I've how I've seen the Secret Service act, on TV and just reading about the Secret Service, I'm blown away that this is the Secret Service. This is how they carry themselves when it comes to protecting a former president. And not to mention, when it comes to like them talking about, with this guy, this individual, there's more information out there. MSN, I call him MSDNC. They're trying to act like this is just some, I mean, the guy is clearly radicalized, but they're downplaying it. And I saw some other headlines that people are going to see later where they are downplaying this whole ordeal. I wish I had that screenshot of the guy or this guy, this individual, when he posted about um, being radicalized, but I can't find a post. So if I find out, I'll fix it in the edit.
I don't understand. You can't downplay this. If someone makes a threat and there's evidence that they say radical and irrational things, there's nothing to ignore or discount.
Yeah.
He had a firearm. Clearly he was intent on hurting someone with it, former President Trump. So I don't understand, and I know they will try to scrub, cover up, spin this, but it's going to be interesting to see how they do it
Yeah.
because this isn't something that you can just downplay.
Yeah.
And words mean something nowadays, especially when it comes to intent to harm someone. This dude is 58 years old, talking about going and fighting over there with Ukraine. Come on, man.
Which
Obviously,
is Yeah, which is crazy. Real quick, Ukraine, they were actually looking for all types of men. Like I remember they were looking for like men in their 40s to
yeah.
go fight in that war that's been still going on. And for some reason, Ukraine hasn't, lost yet, or Russia hasn't lost yet. But yeah, 58. I'm like, come on, man.
Well, let's keep it 100. The reason why Russia wasn't able to just come in here and dominate like they thought they would was because Ukraine armed all of the men and said,
That's true
you
too.
have to fight. And that's the stuff that we're not talking about. The same thing that Taiwan is doing right now
That's a
in
good point.
preparation for China. So
Yep.
why do you want to ban guns? I mean, that's one of the main reasons why it's going to be extremely difficult to invade the United States. Because if you do somehow manage to get that far, you got a
Mhm.
whole bunch of armed individuals who want that smoke. So let's look at the positives and the negatives of the
Yeah.
Second Amendment.
Yeah, there's definitely a conversation there when we get to the debate part about what Kamala said. But yeah, it definitely was a good idea about the Ukrainian government. So, but as more details come out, we'll stay vigilant, try to cover it as well too. But I'm really glad that Trump didn't get hurt, and this is the second time, and I don't think I've ever had. I mean, we just observed 9/11 a few days ago, and I mean, for most of us, we know where we're at, and now we have another situation like that happening. So